Well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight to hear Kevin Ryan speak about the emerging science around the World Trade Center destructions. My name is Aaron Rothberg. I'm a computer technician here at Keene State College, as well as a member of the Monadnock 9/11 Truth Alliance. Proofing. Mr. Ryan, a chemist and laboratory manager, was fired by Underwriter Laboratories for publicly questioning the NIST report. Today, we'll hear about Kevin's findings that were published in the Open Chemical Physics Journal. Please welcome Kevin Ryan.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here in the beautiful state of New Hampshire. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana. I've been working in and managing chemistry laboratories for 20 years. And today I'm here to share important information from an independent investigation into what happened at the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. A close look at the destruction of these buildings leads us to understand that these events were not just incredibly improbable, but also counterintuitive. And if we're able to believe the official myth, these events would have also violated the laws of science. In short, nothing has ever fallen through the path of most resistance for any reason, before or since, yet we're told that on that day, 3 skyscrapers did so at nearly free fall speed. A lot of people are not aware of the 3rd skyscraper. This is it, World Trade Center Building 7, or the Salomon Brothers building. This building was 47 stories tall, making it taller than any building in 33 states, and certainly taller than any building in New Hampshire. It was not hit by a plane, and yet at 5:20 in the afternoon on 9/11, it fell through the path of what should have been the most resistance. It kinked in the middle and collapsed inward. You can see that at the top, falling vertically and symmetrically in 6.5 seconds. Additionally, some very powerful and secretive tenants occupied Building 7, like the CIA, the Secret Service, the Department of Defense, and the New York City Office of Emergency Management. Also, there was the Securities and Exchange Commission, which on that day lost many of the most important documents related to fraud investigations at Enron and WorldCom. According to official investigators, each tower fell in less than 12 seconds. And this fact can be verified through film footage. In comparison, free fall speed through a vacuum, no air, for something at this height would be 9.2 seconds. And again, the towers fell with no deceleration whatsoever. The truth that we have been terribly deceived and that we have deceived ourselves can help billions of people simultaneously take a step forward if we dare to do so. We can learn about how the deceit of 9/11 happened and how similar deceptions have happened many times before and will again unless we stop it. NIST said that they found no evidence of molten metal. But they said that if molten metal had been present, it would have had to have been aluminum from the plane. This was not the case, right? As you can see from these photographs, on the right you see the difference between molten iron steel, which is yellow-orange, and molten aluminum, which is silvery gray when poured in the daylight. There were also many eyewitness testimonies to molten metal. Here are a few examples. Professional people who spoke very clearly about it. In fact, explosions were also reported throughout the pile. In some cases, these explosions were followed by visible white dust clouds. We submitted another FOIA request, this time to the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, and received a response. In reviewing these data, we noticed that the EPA results of air emission testing exhibited some startling spikes in detection of certain analytes. The upgraded fireproofing was applied via a coating process to columns and floor deckings in the buildings. As you can see from this comparative diagram, the floors match up exactly for the North Tower and somewhat well for the South Tower as well. This is, who could have placed explosives in the World Trade Center buildings? For Building 7, it's not difficult to believe, with the secretive and powerful tenants that occupied the building, that explosives could have been planted without detection. But what about the towers? The answer is that the people who had thorough access to the towers included tenants, management, and security companies and other contractors. Others, like Baseline Financial and the Washington Group, were associated with the Department of Energy and the national laboratories that developed nanothermites in the 1990s. Kroll had earlier developed expert knowledge of terrorism and terrorist financing. Kroll's plan for the World Trade Center was implemented over a period of years by 4 companies controlled by very powerful people. Many of those people benefited from the attacks. Lucky Larry, he's called, received a multi-billion-dollar insurance payment as a result of the attacks. Another incredible thing to notice is that the world's leading experts on Al-Qaeda and its terrorist network were right there in New York City at the World Trade Center on 9/11. Getting back to the science, we worked to obtain and analyze more World Trade Center dust samples. My colleague Stephen Jones first noticed that these red, gray, chip-like materials could be extracted from the dust with a magnet. Our latest paper was published in the Open Journal of Chemical Physics. It's called Active Thermitic Material Discovered in Dust from the 9/11 World Trade Center Catastrophe. And it breaks new ground in this area by characterizing the red-gray chips using several analytical techniques. The first author is Dr. Niels Harrit of the University of Copenhagen in Denmark. He's an expert in nanochemistry and has many publications. Our new findings support a growing body of evidence for the presence of explosives at the World Trade Center, which now includes the fact that the fires could not be put out, that all 3 World Trade Center buildings exhibited the characteristics of demolition, the fact that there were many witnesses to explosions, the photographs and witness testimony of molten metal and white clouds, extremely high temperatures evidenced by metallic and other microspheres, evaporated metals and silicates, the unusual spikes in volatile organic chemical emissions suggesting abrupt violent fires, and other unusual species in the environmental monitoring data, and analytical data now that confirm the presence of nanothermite in the World Trade Center dust. Future studies, some of them already in the works, include analysis of the red chips by FTIR, Fourier transform infrared analysis, Mossbauer spectroscopy, and tests for other explosives. Thank you very much for listening today. Are there any questions? Thank you.